So our next speaker is Lindsey. Lindsey Demuth is now, congratulations, a board-certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I've known her for a very, very long time under, unfortunately, very unfortunate circumstances. But she and I have been in touch for many years, and I've watched her boys grow up, and I've watched her grow up, and I've seen how she's had to live her life in a way that she never thought she'd have to live, maybe 11 years ago. And so I wanted her to share her experience with you now, not only as a person who's had to live through the grief and the spirits and how to move on from neuroendocrine and the price she's had to pay, but really now as a mental health person, as a professional, to be able to supply you all with her new training. And I'm hoping that I'm not hoping, I know forever that she and I will be besties for the rest of our lives. So, Lindsey, come on up. Thank you so much.
Okay, hi everyone. As Dr. Liu said, my name is Lindsey Demuth, and I am a board-certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And I'm honored to stand alongside my colleague and friend, Dr. Liu, all of these amazing speakers, and also the support of my family. They're standing in the back of the room, my children, my sister, my nieces, and also people watching from afar, to shed light on the emotional and psychological impact of a cancer diagnosis. Not only our patients, but also their families and caregivers are affected by this. So a little bit about me, I currently specialize in mental health and integrative healing, so I'll be kind of piggybacking on what Denise said earlier. I also have a background of 17 years in the emergency department and also working with trauma patients. Throughout my career, I've cared for thousands of patients in crisis, yet my most profound education came from being a wife and a caregiver to my late husband, who faced neuroendocrine cancer. That experience transformed my understanding of healing. Knowledge guided me, but it was empathy, presence, and love that truly taught me what it means to walk alongside someone in pain. Cancer care is far more than just treating tumors and managing side effects. It's about healing the person as a whole, mind, body, and spirit. True care means addressing emotional wounds, supporting the caregivers who hold everything together, and fostering connection and compassion within the medical community. Today we'll explore topics, many of them around emotional complexities of cancer, caregivers' experiences, and how psychiatry, integrative medicine, and human connection can transform not only the treatment process, but also the quality of life for everyone involved. Okay, so neuroendocrine cancer presents many unique challenges. The treatments can be complex, and symptoms often overlap with psychological and hormonal changes. Many patients and families have said that the emotional side of diagnosis is sometimes harder than the physical treatments. We will examine how psychiatry and integrative approaches, including hormones, lifestyle changes, can support healing, as well as the importance of coordinating care with the many specialties needed, patient advocacy, and looking deep into the caregiver role and experience. The dual perspective I have profoundly shaped my understanding of the importance of mental health, resilience, and healing is when we face this serious illness. My hope is that by sharing both the clinical and the human side of this journey, we can better support patients and families walk through this courageous and difficult path. So let's dive in. Okay, when patients receive a cancer diagnosis, it doesn't just threaten their health, it shakes their very sense of self. Receiving a cancer diagnosis is life-altering. When someone first hears the words, "you have cancer," the mind races ahead. Patients may imagine the worst, while families immediately worry about survival, finances, and caregiving roles. This shock is sometimes described as diagnostic trauma. It can leave people feeling frozen, numb, or flooded with numerous emotions. Many patients and families begin treatment full of hope and determination. But as side effects accumulate and the reality of chronic illness sets in, expectations shift. Patients may feel frustrated when they can't just bounce back or keep up with the daily life. Families may expect strength when the person simply feels exhausted. These mismatched expectations can cause guilt, irritability, or even emotional distance. Mental health support is critical to help realign those expectations, reminding everyone that healing isn't linear and that grace is just as important as grit. This mismatch between expectations and reality often creates distress on both sides. Patients do benefit when they are told you're not weak and your feelings are valid, and this is a normal reaction because these feelings are part of the healing process. And families benefit from learning how to adjust expectations and understanding that good days and bad days are part of the journey. There's often a deep sense of grief for the life before diagnosis. Many describe a feeling of identity loss, as if the illness has taken away parts of who they are. They may feel disconnected from friends or family who don't fully understand what it's like to live in constant uncertainty. Cancer can also evoke feelings of isolation. Even surrounded by love, patients and their families often say they feel alone in their thoughts, burdened by fears they don't want to share. The pressure to stay strong or stay positive can unintentionally invalidate their real emotions, leaving them feeling unseen or guilty for having moments of sadness or anger. The emotional toll deepens during treatment. Physical changes can impact self-esteem and intimacy. Some may also experience anticipatory grief, grieving not only for the possible loss of life, but for the dreams, roles, and futures that may never unfold as planned. Anxiety becomes constant for many, waiting for scan results, wondering if treatments are working, worrying about reoccurrence. It's like living with a shadow that never fully disappears. This is why mental health care must be an integral part of oncology. Patients need safe spaces where they can say, I'm scared, I'm angry, or I feel lost, without being told to be brave. They need reassurance that these emotions are not signs of weakness, but natural human responses to unimaginable stress. And naming these emotional realities helps normalize them and reframe our thought processes. Patients and their families need permission to feel, to cry, and to seek help without judgment. And also, boundaries are one of the most important tools in healing. Boundaries protect love and allow relationships to be stronger and more sustainable. With the help of therapists, psychiatrists, support groups, they can help reframe expectations. Treatment is not a straight line, and progress can look different for each person. But by aligning those expectations with reality, we can reduce frustrations, guilt, and disappointment. And we foster resilience and compassion instead. True healing begins when we normalize those feelings, when we remind patients that vulnerability and courage can exist in the same breath. Coordination of care, patient advocacy, and seeking a specialist is something that's an ongoing process while undergoing cancer care. And I know we've all had firsthand experience in these topics, but we all may not have discussed or expressed the emotional distress that can occur while going through these processes. One of the most difficult and frustrating experiences for patients and caregivers can be the lack of continuity between providers. Fragmented communication between providers can lead to delays in treatment, repeated testing, or conflicting recommendations. For patients already navigating fear and fatigue, these gaps can create profound emotional distress. They often feel lost in the system, unseen, or like they have to manage their symptoms alone. Emotionally, this can manifest as helplessness, anger, or deep anxiety. Patients may begin to question whether anyone truly understands or cares about their experience. They can start to feel like a chart number instead of a person. And that loss of personal connection can amplify feelings of vulnerability and fear. This lack of coordination also places an enormous emotional burden on caregivers, who frequently become the point person, carrying the weight of scheduling, clarifying information, and advocating for those next steps. Over time, that constant vigilance can lead to burnout, compassion fatigue, and even symptoms of depression or trauma. Emotionally, caregivers may oscillate between frustration and guilt, resentful of systems failures, yet guilty for feeling exhausted or angry. They may fear that any mistake or oversight could harm their loved one, creating chronic hypervigilance and emotional exhaustion. The emotional effects of fragmented care ripple through every layer of the patient-caregiver dynamic. Trust erodes, anxiety heightens, and hope can falter when communication is consistent. When patients feel their concerns are dismissed or information is withheld, they often internalize it as being unworthy of attention or care. This can lead to withdrawal, isolation, and sometimes non-adherence to treatment plans. Clarity and communication are forms of compassion. Ensuring continuity of care through shared documentation, team discussions, and regular updates builds trust and emotional safety for patients and families. Patients and caregivers must also feel empowered to advocate for themselves, ask questions, request summaries, and bring a trusted support person to your appointments. It's okay to seek second opinions and to expect collaboration between your providers. Advocacy is not confrontation. It's self-preservation and self-respect. Finally, the importance of having a specialist, particularly in rare and complex diseases like neuroendocrine, is essential. Luckily, all of us sitting here today have found that specialist who's not only highly intelligent, gifted surgeon, but what every patient and their family would want in a doctor. Someone who listens, is compassionate, and has your best interest at heart. Specialists not only bring expertise, but also reassurance. They help patients feel confident that their treatment plan is based on the most current knowledge, and that confidence directly reduces anxiety and enhances emotional well-being. In short, continuity of care and patient advocacy are not administrative luxuries. They are mental health interventions. They protect trust, stability, and hope, which are as vital to healing as any medication or procedure. It is extremely overwhelming trying to piece together care between all the multiple providers and the different hospital systems. We can be left feeling powerless at times, constantly following up, repeating the same story, or worrying that something important would be missed. The emotional exhaustion of being both advocate and caregiver can leave you feeling drained, fearful, and sometimes angry. Patients and families should never have to fight for basic communication. When care is coordinated and compassionate, it restores dignity, safety, and trust. It reminds patients that they are not alone in their fight. When patients and caregivers learn how to communicate clearly, set expectations, and demand continuity, they reclaim a sense of control in an uncontrollable situation. Advocacy becomes both an emotional anchor and an act of healing. Caregivers are often the invisible patients in the cancer journey. They are the steady presence holding everything together: appointments, medications, meals, emotional reassurance, while quietly breaking down inside. Their pain is often minimalized because they are not the ones receiving the treatment. Yet the psychological toll is immense: chronic anxiety, insomnia, guilt, and physical exhaustion. Many caregivers stop attending to their own medical needs. They skip meals, lose sleep for months, even years. Caregiving also comes with emotional isolation. Friends may stop calling, social lives may fade, and personal goals are often placed on indefinite hold. The caregiver becomes defined by responsibility rather than identity. Over time, this emotional invisibility can lead to resentment, hopelessness, or a quiet sense of fading away. In truth, many caregivers experience symptoms of depression or trauma similar to those of their loved ones in treatment. We feel our emotions must come second. We want to be strong, composed, and in control. But the truth is, caregivers need care too. They deserve validation, mental health support, and respite. Without it, burnout becomes inevitable. And clinicians must recognize and treat the caregiver as a co-patient. This means assessing their needs, just as intentionally as we assess the patient's. Encouraging therapy, peer support, and respite activities isn't indulgent, it's vital. Feelings of guilt will come up, but please tell yourself, I matter too, and I cannot pour from an empty cup. Caregiver resilience is built through intentional self-compassion and realistic boundaries. These can include routine restoration by returning to basic self-care with consistent meals, rest, and hydration. This replenishes depleted energy. Micro moments of joy, even brief periods of laughter, nature, or stillness, can counterbalance constant stress. Connection over perfection, allowing vulnerability and sharing experiences with other caregivers lessens isolation. Professional support, regular therapy or support groups provide safe outlets for grief and for frustration. Delegation and asking for help, empowering caregivers to accept the help, meals, errands, childcare, that helps prevent collapse. Purpose and perspective, reflecting on meaning and values can transform exhaustion into endurance. Caregiver resilience is not about being unbreakable, it's about bending without breaking, restoring and continuing with compassion for oneself. Coping isn't perfection, it's survival and meaning-making amid chaos. So, how do we offer support and guidance and help to patients and their families? Well, through integrative care and incorporating different types of therapeutic approaches. So integrative psychiatry combines evidence-based treatments with holistic care, addressing sleep, mood, hormones, lifestyle factors. Emotional pain deserves equal attention as physical symptoms. Psychiatry and functional medicine together offer a wide range of treatment options to support the mind-body connection. Traditional psychiatric treatments, such as antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications and sleep aids, can bring relief from acute symptoms. In addition, functional medicines integrate natural and biological approaches, such as nutritional support, hormone replacement therapy, supplements. And many neuroendocrine patients suffer from hormonal imbalances, not only from their specific type of tumor, but from menopause, aging, stress. And depending on specific pathological markers, hormone replacement therapy can be offered to enhance energy, mood, sleep, and sexual wellness when monitored carefully. A simple hormone panel of blood tests can allow us to look at specific hormones and address concerns surrounding those imbalances. And restoring hormonal balances can also strengthen bone and cardiovascular health. If specific pathological markers are shown that does not allow hormone replacement therapy or bioidentical hormones, we have many supplement options to aid in the enhancement of mood, sleep, motivation. And these therapies are not cures, we know that, but they can enhance quality of life, which is why we're talking about all of this, when integrated carefully into their treatment plans. Also, lifestyle medicine, as we've been talking about, incorporating nutrition, movement, restorative sleep, and stress management builds resilience. Gentle activities such as yoga, walking, or stretching, paired with balanced meals and hydration, can promote both mental clarity and physical recovery. Therapeutic interventions, individual and family therapy, mindfulness, trauma-informed approaches, and psychoeducation empower both patients and caregivers to process their emotions, reduce anxiety, and rebuild meaning. Collaborative care. The best outcomes come from multidisciplinary work. The team of oncologists and therapists, nutritionists, and integrative specialists, working together to create a cohesive, personal-centered treatment plan. The goal is not just survival, but restoration of identity, joy, and the whole person. And when it comes to psychiatric medications, they don't have to be a lifelong thing. They can be something that can help in the short term. I know there's a big stigma around mental health and medications, but they help very much. The journey of managing life with cancer looks different for everyone, but we know that love and support are among the most powerful medicines we have. Research shows that emotional and social support can significantly improve outcomes in cancer care. Healing is not just physical, it's also the emotional and spiritual aspects. Whether it comes from a spouse, family, friends, or compassionate community like this one, love creates resilience and fosters hope. For physicians and providers, showing compassion, even in the smallest gestures, help patients feel seen and valued. And we've all experienced that kind of support in this room from leaders like Dr. Liu. Cultivating a positive mindset does not mean ignoring your pain or struggle. It means finding meaning and courage within it. Practices such as gratitude journaling, mindfulness, prayer, and setting small daily goals help shift focus from fear to empowerment. Celebrating small victories, completing a treatment day or a day without pain, a moment of laughter, builds confidence and joy. Families can offer encouragement while allowing space for honesty, reminding their loved ones it's okay to have both hope and hard days. Practical coping strategies are essential. Deep breathing, meditation, gentle yoga, journaling, or establishing predictable routines that restore calm amid chaos. When emotions feel overwhelming, these tools ground the mind and body. Coping isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about surviving each moment and finding meaning where you can. It's learning to hold both sorrow and gratitude, frustration and love in the same heart. In closing, please remember that healing is multidimensional, biological, psychological, social, and spiritual. Treating cancer is not only about addressing the illness, but about restoring the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. True recovery happens when we create space for every dimension of healing, the science of medicine, the stabilization of mood and sleep through psychiatric care, the restoration of hormonal balance and vitality, the support of nutritional and supplement therapies, and daily practices that bring calm, balance, and meaning to life. Integrative therapies, whether it's antidepressants to ease the emotional burden, hormone replacement to support resilience and energy, mindfulness to reduce cortisol and anxiety, or nutritional supplements to restore cellular strength are not luxuries, they are lifelines. These interventions work together to remind the body and brain that healing is still possible. The emotional landscape of cancer is often filled with uncertainty, fear, and grief, not just for the patient, but for the entire circle of care. Caregivers often carry invisible wounds and the quiet ache of helplessness, yet their love sustains the journey. Supporting them is as vital as supporting the patient. When we attend to mental health and support the body with nourishment and create moments of rest and connection, we move closer to genuine healing. Because healing isn't about the absence of illness, it's the presence of wholeness, even amid the struggle. Thank you so much for allowing me to share something so close to my heart, and for the compassion you bring to every patient and family you serve. May we continue to honor the emotional, spiritual, and biological sides of medicine, and may every patient, family member, and caregiver find moments of healing, strength, and grace, even in the most uncertain of times.
That's Aaron. That's Aaron. That is Lindsay's husband, yeah. And so it's funny, every time I call or text Lindsay, Aaron's picture comes up every time. And so I see him I think of him all the time. And it's funny because he used to work for Honest Tea. So he would come and bring me like stacks and stacks of iced tea that I could never finish. But every time I go in the grocery store, I think of Aaron. Every time I think of it, every single time I go, yeah. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for sharing.